A recent clip on the Sports Card Radio Clips YouTube channel got my attention. They were kind of panning over a showcase and it showed Pixar cards, many of them in BGS 10 holders. And the reason why that had got my attention is I was having a couple of different conversations while I was at the Philly show, and they were talking about, hey, it seems to me like it's getting easier to get BGS 10's. I'm not talking about Black Label, I'm just talking about the regular BGS 10 grades. Typically, not an easy grade to get at all.
When I see a car like this, first thing I do is I say, would you look at this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, would you look at this?
And so notice this, and again, very small sample size. I'm just noticing it in one showcase. I am by no means a BGS expert. And so really looking for feedback from people that are watching. If you're doing a lot of submitting with BGS, are you seeing more of the 10's? There has been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter recently about the values of BGS 9.5s compared to PSA 10's, and just kind of a gap that seems to be widening. And for a lot of collectors out there, that means opportunity, because look, there's a lot of great cards that are sitting in a BGS 9.5 holder. But I did talk to actually two different folks that said they were moving out of BGS 9.5 cards, especially one guy had some higher end stuff, because if it is true that maybe they're being a little bit more lenient on handing out 10's, then how can that impact the 9.5 values? I think it's a valid concern, but again, we're talking about a few conversations here. We're talking about a very small sample size of stuff that I saw in this clip, but then also hearing from other people. These Pixar cards were one example. I've heard other examples of kind of newer cards getting graded. I don't think their grading standards have changed at all, unless I missed something. But I thought this was worth opening it up to community folks, to viewers. Hey, let's talk about this a little bit. Are you seeing, for people that are submitting to BGS, are you seeing, more 10's out there? And I suppose this would be more prevalent with newer cards, new release type stuff, as opposed to, submitting a card that's 10 years old and getting a 10 on it. I think that would be pretty tricky, I would assume. This goes back to the grading debate of who's grading harder and who's grading easier on what cards. There's so much nuance to this conversation, but I do like to kind of open it up because it's an important thing, especially when we're always kind of tracking values across different grading companies, resale value, and what does it mean as we move forward into the future. Sports card addiction has hit the mainstream news outlets. But before I dive into that story, big shout out to today's video sponsor, MVPSportBreak.com. These guys are offering 10% off, the 10% off promo code DAD3, DAD, and then the number 3 is the promo code. MVP Sport Break, selling a lot of great new product at great prices. They can compete with those big box outlets out there, so definitely check out for new products and all sorts of different things on their website. And for orders that are over $500, it is free shipping, so make sure to take advantage today. All right, I had the good fortune of working with Horatio Ruiz over at Sports Collectors Daily, a site that I highly respect. They always have great written stories, and a lot of times we reference them here. sportscollectorsdaily.com. Make sure to check them out. I will put a link to an article that I contributed to. He had reached out to me and said, hey, can I get your thoughts on this? I saw that you've got YouTube videos on the sports card addiction topic. It's becoming more and more talked about, and I wanted to really kind of go beyond breaks, because I think that's kind of the obvious one. There's a sports betting element, of course, to sports card collecting / investing / flipping / speculating. There is a sports card betting aspect to it. And there's a lot of focus on break addiction. People that are maybe putting it on credit cards. I'm buying into these breaks and I keep on doubling down, tripling down. But I wanted to open the door that this can also happen just buying singles. It's kind of one of those things where you get caught up. And so I had a call with Horatio just to kind of go through my experience, share my thoughts on this particular subject, because to be honest with you, I think it's one of the most important topics in the sports card hobby right now that's not really talked about a whole lot. You see, little bits and pieces here and there. I'll pick it up in, different podcasts or YouTube, or see articles that reference it a little bit. But I really think it should be a heavier part of hobby talk. And the reason why, even though it's considered to be kind of a taboo, probably a negative subject, hobby sustainability, I think, is important to everyone, collectors involved, but also companies. If you're a company that's operating in the space, you don't necessarily want to see people that come in, you've attracted somebody in, you've converted a sports fan over to a sports card buyer or a sports memorabilia buyer. They get in and they kind of get out of sorts, overspend, don't budget properly, maybe get a little bit caught up, and then a year down the road, 6 months down the road, they're completely out. I mean, the idea is you start in slow and kind of build up and just do it over a period of time, as opposed to just running in here, blowing your budget, and then we don't ever see you again. And the same goes for long-time folks that have been in this hobby that, hey, look, we've got a weird economic climate. Maybe they don't have the disposable income that they had, over the last 5-10 years. I'm talking about long-time hobbyists, and they're like, you know what? This hobby's gotten a little bit too expensive for me. I think I'm going to take a break, or I'm out. I don't really want to do this anymore. Just as important to bring new people in, but keeping the people that are already spending parts of their paycheck in the hobby. So opening up that conversation so that others know, hey, you're not the only one out there that gets stuck on your eBay watch list and you're just like, I got to bid on these things. Look, that's a lot of folks, and so hobby responsibility, financial responsibility, I think is a really good topic to continuously talk about. So guys, check out that article. I'll put the link there down below. Again, thank you very much for joining me here today. As always, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.